Don't waste your time having this inner debate with yourself about, are you going to commit to this habit or not? Tell yourself that you are going to go to the gym for the next month. I am someone who goes to the gym. What does that kind of person do? They get in their car, regardless of the fact that it's early, it's dark and cold and miserable, and they go to the gym. Don't give yourself the option. Decide and then do it. We're going to talk about how to enter your discipline era, create new habits, stay focused, stay on track. The first thing that I do when I think about creating new habits is to refer to my vision board. I've got a vision board for the year. I've also got a vision board for the season. This can help me remember what my own goals are. This series of videos I'm doing, Dream Self Diaries, is all about being your dream self, your best self. It's important to remind ourselves of this vision quite often because there are so many different things that can influence us, whether it's what our friends are doing, what other people in our life are doing, what we see online, on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever content you're consuming, and also then the people in your life, whatever they're up to, that can influence what you're doing. You might be doing something just because a lot of other people are doing it. You might decide, oh, I want to try and wake up at 6 a.m, but actually that doesn't fit with your schedule or doesn't fit with the season of life you're in right now. That's not something that you need to be doing, but because other people are doing that, you might feel compelled to. But looking at your vision board, that's something that you created for yourself, your goals in mind specifically. It's generating a certain feeling in you. When you look at that, you will hopefully, the point of making it is that you feel inspired, you feel a certain way. So the first thing to remember, if we want to be creating new habits and be disciplined in them, is to remember that this is about you. This is about what you want to achieve, what you want to be like, what your dream self is like. People talk about like becoming her or how to become her. This is an individual thing to you. Everyone's dream version of themselves looks different. Everyone's best version of themselves looks different. Don't get caught up in other people's idea of this. Think about what it means for you to be disciplined, what habits that looks like for you. It can be helpful to write about this if you are not into vision boards and the visual element. So some helpful prompts could be, what is my dream self morning routine? What does my dream career look like? What is a day in my life living as my dream self? Answer these questions instinctively. What is your immediate reaction when you are thinking about what is my dream day? If I become the ideal version of myself, this version of myself that I have in my head, that I'm working towards, that I want to create these new habits towards, what does that look like? And then you can create habits specifically tailored to that vision that you have, because it will look different for everyone. Some people want to travel, some people want a family, some people want a specific kind of career. You want to look a certain way maybe. There are so many things. Having a definite vision, being very specific about what you want, goes hand in hand with being disciplined, because once you have defined what you want to be very clearly, you can then get hyper-focused on that thing and you can be disciplined then according to what's on your vision board, or what are your answers to those questions about being your dream self in the habits that you want to create. When you're thinking about being disciplined, where are you coming up short? Do you wish that you read more? Do you wish that you put more effort into the way you looked every day, and some days you just think, I can't be bothered, like I'm not going to do that? Is it about cooking for yourself instead of ordering takeaways? Is it about the attitude that you approach the day with, or that you go into work with, and you wish that you were a bit more friendly or a bit more just into it and you're actually not? It doesn't have to be to do with like big life goals. It can be to do with that, but it can also be in the small habits. I'm all about the little things add up. So maybe something that you could do that could have a positive knock-on effect would be, I'm going to not go on my phone for an hour before bed and an hour after I wake up. Like I'm gonna have a phone-free zone for an hour or so every morning and every evening, and see if that can have a positive cumulative effect, and be disciplined about that. I'm going to talk about some of the other ways in the video. If we're talking about being disciplined, start small. I want to go with the phrase, start small, but dream big. So we've already talked about dreaming big, looking at your vision board, answering these questions, envisioning your dream life, your dream version of yourself. You're dreaming big, hopefully. I remember watching Lauren Camille's vision board video, and she talked about if there isn't something on your vision board that scares you, you need to do it again, because it needs to be this dream version of your life. You don't need to think everything on there is achievable. There needs to be a few things on there that are going to push you to try and get closer to this dream version of yourself. So start small, dream big. So if you say, I want to start cooking more meals at home instead of getting takeaway or getting stuff on the way home, I want to cook my own meals, start small. Yes, you might be tempted to be like, oh, I want to do like a whole menu. I'm going to do lasagna one night, then I'm going to do chili, then I'm going to do burgers, then I'm going to do some kind of fish pie. Like, that's great, but you might get very overwhelmed very quickly because you're trying to instigate a whole new routine for yourself that's going to take quite a lot of time. Like if you want to make lasagna, fish pie, all of this stuff from scratch, that's going to be quite a lot to go from nothing to doing that. So start small. Just think, okay, I'm gonna make a big lasagna for the rest of the week, and then I can have portions of it throughout the week. I'm going to take my time making this. I'm going to find a recipe that I like or that a lot of people have recommended, maybe even get one from a friend. Maybe you've been to a friend's house or like a family member's house, they cooked you a lovely lasagna. Text that person or call that person and be like, hey, send me your recipe. Give me any tips, and then put on your favourite TV show, your favourite podcast as you're cooking. Make it an enjoyable experience. And we're going to talk about how you need to detach from the outcome. Like, yes, when you're cooking, you want to make a good lasagna, but you need to make the process itself enjoyable. Whatever new habit you want to create. So if you want to be cooking for yourself, but you really don't like cooking, you need to make that thing enjoyable so that you'll be happy to put in the work, to take action, to make that stuff for yourself. So put on your favourite TV show, put on some loud music and dance around as you're cooking, put on your podcast, call a friend and have them on speakerphone while you're cooking. It can be really frustrating when we want to create a new habit or we want to up our discipline on an existing habit. We can want to make this whole big plan for ourselves, have all of these goals. It's a really great vision, but that's something that maybe you can be doing in a couple months' time. But you need to start small. You have all this momentum at the beginning, but after a few days or maybe after a week, that's going to wear off that initial excitement and that momentum. You're going to start thinking, this is really difficult. This is really hard to try and put all of these habits in and to try and cook for myself every night, or to go to the gym every day, or to at least go to the gym a few times a week, but to go for like an hour. This is really difficult and I'm not feeling motivated anymore and I don't want to do it. And yes, we need to remember that discipline comes before motivation. I've got this on my vision board because it's such a helpful thing. You just really need to take action. You might start off with your motivation, your momentum, but that's going to fizzle out quickly. If you start small, not only will you then be building discipline on a habit, being like, I'm doing this once a week, or I'm doing a small run every day. I'm not going to go for a big run, I'm just going to do a small run, or I'm just going to go to the gym for even 15 minutes. You might not think that's doing anything, but if you're building that habit, building that discipline of going every day, not only are you becoming more disciplined, but hopefully as well, you will keep your motivation. So I've taken up running. I only go for a short time. I get back and I think, I could have done a longer run then. Like I'm enjoying this. That was fun. Like I enjoyed that run. And yes, there will come a point where I do need to push myself a bit more. But you see, by taking small steps and keeping it small, starting small, it means that you can maintain some of that initial momentum, that motivation you have, whilst also building discipline around that habit. So instead of just then relying on discipline when you've run out of motivation, you keep the motivation going for a lot longer. And it's hard because at the beginning, you want to take a lot of action, but you need to have more of a long-term plan in your head and think, I'm probably not going to have this level of motivation in 3 months' time. But if you start small, you can keep that momentum, that motivation going alongside all of the discipline. So consistency comes from discipline, but it also comes from feeling motivated enough to, sorry, I'm just sorting out some of my makeup, feeling motivated enough to continue taking the action regardless of the results. And we're going to talk about a detachment a bit later. Habits take time to build, so don't get frustrated if you're not seeing results instantly. When you're creating a new habit, you might get fed up because you're not seeing the results that you expected, or it's more difficult, you keep forgetting, or it just feels like a lot of work. I think we can kind of stop ourselves from falling into that trap so much if we go into a new habit expecting a little bit of resistance. This isn't to say that you need to start thinking that creating new habits is so hard or being disciplined is hard. That's not what we're talking about. I'm more saying that if we're prepared for the situation, so if you expect that maybe this will be a bit of a challenge, but instead of viewing it as, oh my gosh, this is going to be so difficult, I can't do it. Instead, if you think, oh, this is going to be a challenge, like I'm going to try something new, like I'm stepping into a new version of myself, I'm taking action to get to my dream version of myself or become this ideal version of myself. If you view it instead like a challenge, then you're not going to be so blindsided when your motivation starts lagging and you start thinking, why am I doing this? Or this is too difficult, I want to go back to what I was doing before. Or maybe I'm just not a gym person, or maybe I'm not a runner, like maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. You start having these thoughts. If you expect to have them from the beginning, expect for things to be, I guess, to go through seasons and cycles with things. I think that will help you. I go through cycles. I've been through the same thing with my YouTube channel. There have been times where I'm like, oh, should I give up? Like, should I stop doing this? But I'm like, well, no, I really enjoy it. I've just accepted that there are going to be ups and downs with everything. Like, that's true of life, of every aspect of life. There are going to be times where things seem to be going well, other times where you're really struggling, and you may be able to point to something specific and be like, that is the reason why I'm struggling. Or it may just sort of feel like it comes out of nowhere and you're just finding things more difficult than normal. This is where, in terms of the resistance, it's also helpful to have a strong why. So we talked a bit about motivation. Clearly, it helps to be more disciplined when we understand why we're doing something. And it's just a question of balancing that strong why, that reason, with a bit of detachment. So both of these things can be working, and you can at any point tap into either one. So if you're feeling like you might want to give up this habit, maybe you started lifting weights at the gym and it's not having the effect that you thought it would, or you're just not seeing results and you feel like giving up, then you can remind yourself that you need to detach from the outcome. You are not going to the gym to get the certain results, to get more defined arms or to improve your fitness, let's say. Those things will hopefully happen, but they're only going to keep happening if you continue to go to the gym. If you give up this habit because you're not seeing the results, nothing is going to change. So in that instance, it's helpful to detach from the outcome. But there can be other times where we're just feeling a bit sluggish, life just gets busy, and there it's helpful to remind yourself of your why. So you might start thinking, oh, I'm so busy today, or this week I've got a lot going on, I don't want to go to the gym. And with all of this, we're going to talk a little bit about always do your best. I don't think everyone should have to do everything 100%. There are some people who do that. It depends on your personality. If you're a type A personality, I'm sure you'll be like, no, I'm going to do it regardless. But there will clearly be sometimes maybe you're not feeling so well, all kinds of things where it's like, no, I don't have to do that habit today. But you will know the difference. You'll know in your head, is this just because I'm busy because I've got friends staying? Or is this because I'm saying that I don't really feel like going to the gym and this is just a good excuse? You will know. If you're thinking, oh, I don't really want to go, you can remind yourself of your why. So there, detachment is not going to help you, because you're going to be like, well, I don't care. Like, I don't care about the outcome. I don't care about going. I don't want to go. But reminding yourself of your why will help you in that situation, because you can think, oh, but I'm not going to the gym because I feel like it. I'm going because I want to help my bone density, or like osteoporosis runs in my family and it's good to do exercise. Even if you pick something like, oh, I enjoy listening to music on the drive over. If you remember your why and you've got a strong motivation for why you are creating this new habit and trying to be more disciplined with it, that will help you. So getting a balance of those things and just choosing to use whatever perspective to your advantage. So sometimes if I don't feel like going on a run, I can use the detachment, like, it's not about what you feel. I don't care if it's not showing results. The point is to go for the run just for the sake of going for a run. It's good for you, get outside, do it. And then there are other times where it's like, I need to be more gentle with myself maybe, and it's not about dismissing the outcome, and it's more about being like, oh, this why, like, you want to challenge yourself or you want to get better at running. You will find a healthy balance, and you will know, because it's all going on inside. It's all to do with the way you're thinking about things, your mindset, what's been going on with you this week, either in terms of what's happening in your world, but also in your made up reality in your head. You will know when it's best to focus on the why or focus on detachment. But both of these things can be really helpful, and I think you need to be aware of them when we're talking about discipline. I think another helpful thing to bear in mind is to not give yourself an option. So often we can expend so much mental energy having this debate with ourselves about will I, won't I? I'm in recovery from addiction, and will I, won't I used to be a debate that I had for myself when I was thinking about, was I going to have a drink today? And the debate was really just to help make myself feel better about my inevitable decision to drink. Like, there was never a question that I wasn't going to drink. This debate of am I going to or am I not? It helped me feel like I'd given both options a fair shout when I hadn't at all. It's similar to the way in political discussions people can talk about both sides. But we don't talk about politics, we're talking about discipline. But this will I, won't I, you probably are familiar with it. I mean, it happens, it's not just about addiction, but that is an example that I am so familiar with, and I have that debate constantly. So say it's raining and you don't want to go for a run, or say it's autumn and you're like, well, it's getting dark early now, I don't want to get up early and go to the gym because it's pitch dark outside and I'm waking up so early. There will always be a reason not to do something. And this will I, won't I, giving yourself this option, it can make you feel like you have considered it. So you're like, oh, yes, I might do it. But, you know, there are all these reasons why it would be perfectly reasonable for me to not go to the gym. Yeah, it is dark, it is cold, it is early, it's expensive, or it's going to take me a while to defrost my car because it's cold this morning. There are so many reasons. If you remove the option and just say, I am someone who goes to the gym, I am someone who goes for a run, what does that kind of person do? Someone who goes to the gym and tells themselves, I am someone who goes to the gym. They get in their car, regardless of the fact that it's early, it's dark and cold and miserable, and they go to the gym. Don't waste your time having this inner debate with yourself about, are you going to commit to this habit or not? Tell yourself that you are. So you are going to be a morning person for the next month. You are going to go to the gym for the next month. You are going to get up and go for a run, however many times a week, whatever is reasonable for you. You are going to do this for the next month. Don't give yourself the option. Decide and then do it. Discipline comes before motivation, which we talked about. If you shut down any debate of will I, won't I, if you stop giving yourself the option not to, unless massive sub point, clearly if you're injured or you're not feeling well, this is not to say to dismiss that and just ignore what's happening in your body. No, but I'm talking about those days where you think, oh, do I have to? Or I'm just not feeling it today. Those days, it can be helpful to not give yourself that option. Discipline before motivation. Eliminate that debate that you're going to have with yourself and just be like, no, this is what I do. I said I was going to do this today and I'm going to do it. When you're trying to form a new habit and stay focused on it, it's important to monitor your progress. Life can get busy, and while you might have motivation in the first week, you might be really dedicated to this new habit you're trying to form, it's easy for that to fade away quite quickly just because there's so much else going on. So monitoring your progress is really important. If you're doing something like running, that will be quite easy to monitor if you have an app which tracks your runs. That can be helpful. I have started running, but I'm not using an app. I am just recording the fact that I have been for a run. So there are two ways you can go with this. You can be very methodical in your approach. Like I say, download, if we're going to use this example of running, download an app which will tell you where you ran, how fast you ran, how long you ran. That can be helpful to give you measurable data, right? To show you what you've been doing. But I, for now at least, am just recording the fact that I went for a run at all. This is a part of starting small, like we talked about. I think for me, the most important thing is that I get my running stuff on, put on my trainers and go for a run. That is, for now, the only thing that I need to be measuring. Doesn't matter how fast I ran or the distance I covered. For me now, I think the only thing I need to be focused on is creating the habit of going for a run and making it so that if I don't go for a run, I feel odd. I've cemented it so much as part of my daily routine. This is the goal, that I cement it so much as part of my daily routine that when I decide not to, I think, oh, what's different about this day? Whether that's what's different in my energy or what was I supposed to do? Oh, I go for a run in the morning. Now, I'm not saying I go running every day. I don't. I'm trying to do every other day. And it's important as well to start small just in terms of running or I guess any kind of exercise because you don't want to get injured and then that will mean you can't do it at all. So aside from the mindset thing and of creating a new habit and the importance of starting small in that sense, if you're starting exercise and you previously, like I was not doing any kind of running or any kind of exercise like that, it's important to start small, but think about the way you want to monitor. Maybe you want to use an app. What I like to do is I've got a chart that I fill in every day of different habits that I want to do every day. I know some people can think this is a bit silly. You might think if it's something I want to do every day or I need to do every day, like for example, brushing your teeth, if I need to do that every day, why do I need a habit tracker to check off the fact that I've brushed my teeth today? It should be so automatic that I don't need to give myself a gold star for doing this thing. But at least for me, this is something that you need to try out for yourself. I know some people can have that attitude or think that it's too much, it's too finicky, but for me, it's something that I've been doing for like a year and a half now, and it's automatic for me to fill in my habit tracker. I did a whole video talking about my habit tracker and the categories I use, so I'll link that video for you. That for me is the way I'm monitoring my movement and my runs. I've got a whole column for movement which I will include like stretching or exercises. I've got some exercises from the physio. Obviously if I go for a run I'll say where I ran. It's not to do with the time. I don't even look at what time I left or what time I came back, how fast I run. And then I have as well a star chart, which if I did the thing, I'd give myself a gold star. So think about the way you want to monitor your progress. This isn't just so that you're able to celebrate any achievements. And when you actually see, oh look, for the last 7 days, I have done this new habit. Oh look, for the last 7 days I've woken up half an hour earlier and I'm reading in the morning. And then you can be like, oh, that's cool, like I'm making a new habit, and you can see progress. But it's also about looking at where things maybe aren't working. And this is not at all about being discouraged and thinking, oh, I really wanted to try and implement this new habit. I wanted to try and wake up earlier. I wanted to read more chapters of a book. I wanted to spend more time on my self-care routine, you know, buy myself a nice face mask to do in the evening or something, and I'm just not dedicating the time to do that. It's not about beating yourself up. It's just about being aware of what's happening and seeing, are there any patterns that you can spot about why you aren't able to achieve your goal on a certain day. I read The 4 Agreements the other day. If you haven't read that book, please read it. It is really, I don't even have the word for it. It will probably only take you like an hour and a half to read. It's not a long book. The amount of wisdom in that book is amazing. It talks about how we have so many agreements already in place in our lives. You might have an agreement, an unspoken agreement with your grandparents that you don't swear around them. Life operates on these agreements that we make, and the 4 Agreements is about how you can make new agreements with yourself to make your life a lot better, to change the way you look at the world. Instead of living in hell, you will then be able to live in your dream of heaven. And it's a really wonderful book. But the 4th agreement, he goes through 4 different agreements that you can make with yourself to make your life better. The 4th one is to always do your best. And I think this applies when we're talking about monitoring our goals, monitoring our progress. Always do your best. Some days you won't be able to wake up an hour earlier. Some days you won't be able to get your reading done that you need to do. Some days you won't feel like going for a run or going to the gym. But that doesn't matter. It's not about setting yourself an arbitrary goal and being like, I have to do this every single day, or I have to do this X amount of times a week, otherwise I'm not being disciplined enough, or I'm not getting to my goal. Always do your best. So if you think, actually I had a really rubbish day and I was still able to read a chapter of my book, even if it wasn't sitting down and reading for half an hour like I'm trying to make this new goal, I still managed to read a chapter. I did my best today. I think as well an important thing to remember is that this isn't a race. You don't have to feel like you have to rush into something, like you have to go all in on this habit. Again, start small. You can always restart, and if you're keeping track of your progress of what's working and what's not, that gives you information on what you need to change and what you can do better. You can be like, actually this habit, waking up at 6 a.m, that's not working for me right now. Let me try 6:30, or actually maybe I should be trying to do my reading in the evening instead of the morning, because in the morning I just don't have time. It's not about beating yourself up or thinking like, I didn't do this, I'm such a failure. There's no time limit on it. Take the pressure off yourself. When you do your best, you learn to accept yourself, but you have to be aware and learn from your mistakes. This is from the 4 Agreements. I'm kind of low-key obsessed with it. About taking the time pressure off. Something that helps is to detach from the outcome. So sometimes we take certain actions in order to get a result, and a lot of the time that works. But sometimes it's going to be more effective if you take the action and learn to enjoy the action just for the thing itself. So I might start running to lose weight, or to improve my fitness, to improve like my lung capacity, or to help strengthen my muscles. Exercise like that is good for, as you get older, like helping your bone density. There are all kinds of reasons why you might decide to take up running. But if you're only running to get the thing that you want, and that doesn't happen fast enough, you're probably going to stop running because you're not getting your desired result quickly enough. If you detach from that outcome that you want and instead just think, I'm going to go running because I enjoy running, or I'm going to go to the gym and lift weights because I'm going to find a way to enjoy that, instead of thinking about like improving my bone density or improving my fitness or anything, those are all going to be byproducts of you repeatedly going for a run or going to the gym. So detaching from the outcome. It's not about like tricking yourself that you don't care. It's more just finding something in the new habit you want to create that you can enjoy just for the sake of. Be like, I'm going to enjoy the drive to the gym because I'm going to put on my favourite playlist, or this new album that's come out and I don't really have time to listen to it, or I'm going to put on my favourite podcast. And then when you get to the gym, maybe you've created like a specific gym playlist. Similarly, I'm going to go running because I like the feeling of running. I like going outside and feeling the sun on my face. I like feeling the wind go through my hair. To enjoy the thing itself instead of focusing just on what it's gonna bring you, on what the results are gonna be, that can be helpful. You have so many great ideas in your head, but what makes the difference is the action. Without action upon the idea, there will be no manifestation, no results, and no reward. Without taking the action, you're never going to form the habit, you're never going to get the results that you are hoping to get from the habit. I've talked about taking action, we talked about discipline before motivation and how you're not always going to feel motivated to act. A practical thing that can help you become more disciplined, enter your discipline era, is to wake up earlier. I have been doing this and it's been kind of life-changing. I heard someone say that when you're thinking about waking up earlier, the important thing is to not set yourself a waking up time. Like, don't be like, I want to get up at this time. Instead, you need to set yourself a bedtime. I tend to get on well with 8 hours of sleep. Some people need less, but that for me seems good. It is very unreasonable for me to keep going to bed at midnight and then expecting myself to wake up at 6:30 just because I've said to myself, I'm going to wake up early, I want to wake up at 6:30. That's probably not going to work. Instead, you need to set a bedtime. So think, if I want to get up at 6 or if I want to get up at 6:30, say, I need to be asleep by 10:30 because then that is going to give me my 8 hours of sleep. So if I need to be asleep by 10:30, I probably need to start getting ready for bed. Maybe I want to read before bed, I want to do my journaling, so I need to start getting ready at maybe 9:45, I need to get in bed at 10. Plan it that way. Don't focus so much on the waking up time, focus on the bedtime, because as well that's going to make it a lot easier to actually get up when your alarm is going off at 6 and you're like, what? I don't normally wake up at this time, because you'll have then had a decent amount of sleep as opposed to only 6 hours of sleep. And again, everyone is different, but I don't find especially that I get tired. It's more just on days when I haven't slept so well. I don't have as much emotional strength during the day, like things are more difficult. It's not to do with feeling tired or feeling sluggish. It's more just to do with my emotional resilience throughout the day. I notice that things bother me a lot more. I can't focus as much. Like, it's not really anything measurable in terms of productivity. It's more just the way that I feel, and I can really feel it. Wake up earlier, go to bed earlier, set yourself a bedtime. You've probably heard of the phrase carpe diem. Seize the day. Waking up earlier will help you seize the day, get on board with your new habits. I have to say, there is something wonderful about it getting to like 8:30, which used to be the time where I'd wake up, and I've been up for 2 hours, I've walked the dogs, I've been for a run, I've had a shower. Like, there's something nice about that early morning, productive, focused, determined feeling. And this is coming from a night owl as well, so it is possible to shift your circadian rhythm. Change is possible. It's kind of the whole point of my channel. You can change. And if you decide that waking up earlier will help you develop your new habits quicker, or that it will just be helpful to use an hour at the beginning of the day to read, to run, to go to the gym, whatever new habit you want to create, I would really urge you to do that. And yeah, it might be difficult, but focus on setting a bedtime. And like we've talked about, don't stress too much, because then you can kind of be in not a vicious loop with it. But if you can't get to sleep at 10:30 and then you start realising, oh, now I'm only get 7.5 hours sleep, now I'm only going to get 7 hours of sleep, like the clock starts going down, and then you just get more stressed out. It is a vicious loop. That's not helpful. So again, just do your best. And there are all sorts of things going on as well. There are some days you will be more tired, so even if you want to get up early, you might just need more sleep. So you need to respect that. It's hard because we can want to develop this like rigid routine that's going to get us to where we want to go, but you have to work with your body instead of trying to fight it and just be like, no, this is what we're doing. Like, you can't always force it, and I think that's important to remember as well. Thank you so much for watching Dream Self Diaries, a series I'm doing on this channel which is dedicated to helping you develop healthy habits and level up your mindset so that you can embody your dream self today. If you want to see more videos about how to become your dream self, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.